Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to the Adventures Travel Club television show. Betty, is that your boat out there?
Oh, my boat. Hey, if there's anybody's boat, it'd be yours. You're the one that's boat crazy.
Like to go sailing. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, this is one place I really would like to go sailing, because we are right now standing on the grounds of another temple. And, of course, this was a temple to Poseidon. Now, some people may not know the name Poseidon other than the movie and that type of thing. But Poseidon's name, he was, of course, a mythical god for the Greeks, but the Romans also referred to him as Neptune. And these...
well, it all had to do with the sea.
Yeah, oh yeah, he was
So,
the god of the sea. You know, right. And you remember one of the last shows that we had. Hey, before we get to that, I want to say something. You know,
I'm not going anywhere.
Tourists do a lot of graffiti, and there's a piece of graffiti right there. You can see it says Byron. Lord Byron visited here in Greece and wrote his name on that.
Shame on him.
That's what I say.
That's
Shame
really
on
bad news. He should have saved it for his compositions instead of...
I think so, too. Anyway, one of the last programs, I think we were talking about Poseidon and Athena, and, of course, they had... they both wanted to kind of be a ruler, didn't they? And Athens was named after Athena. You like that picture?
Yeah, I like that picture. That's a good picture. You know, some of these new cameras do such wonderful things, don't they? They stretch out so you can get a panoramic view. Yeah. You know, I was thinking that would be a good picture to take and make a big picture and put it up on our wall.
You want a picture postcard after
postcard
of that?
of
Okay,
that,
well,
yeah.
that sounds like a good idea.
But let's go back to Poseidon, because I think
Okay.
that most people would be interested a little bit about the Greek history of it. And
Well, you know, when they divided the heavens up, the Greek mythical gods and goddesses, the watery realm, can't even say it, and the subterranean land of the dead, the Olympians agreed that the earth itself will be ruled jointly. I'm really having
you're
fun
having a
with
little
that,
chopping
right?
today, aren't
With
you?
Zeus as king, and this led to a number of territorial disputes among the gods. So Poseidon vied with Athena to be patron deity of Athens, and the god demonstrated his power and benevolence by striking the Acropolis with his three-pronged spear.
That sounds just like you're reading it, Marv. Are you?
Doesn't it?
Or do you have that all?
I don't have it memorized, no. Anyway, when he did that, it caused a spring of salt water to emerge. And Athena, however, we remember from the last show, she planted an olive tree, which was seen as a more useful thing.
You know, I would disagree with that.
Salt water.
Would you?
would not go
I would
salt
have.
water
I would
thing?
have gone for Poseidon myself.
Why?
I think water's so important.
Yeah, but it was salt water.
Yeah, but they're very bright. The Greeks were very bright, and they would have found a way to take the salt. If they could do what they can do, those gods, then they could easily have taken the salt out of the water.
Evidently so.
And then if they had the water to water the tree, you know,
that she planted.
that she planted, right, right.
Anyway, it's all in the name of mythology anyway. But it was interesting to see, of course, there was another Acropolis here, and this was the one that was in the temple that was dedicated to Poseidon or Neptune. This was a drive that we took one day out of Athens, and it was beautiful. We drove along the coast, and I can see why people fall in love with Greece. It is so beautiful. It's just great. And that water is the clearest water, I think, Betty, that I've ever seen anywhere, you know.
And I think the people are beautiful to look at.
Right, well, here's some
They're
beautiful
so
people right here.
classical. Oh.
You had just made a nice purchase. We're back in Athens now. Remember we talked about the Agora when we were looking at the Acropolis and we looked down? Well, this is that area right now that we're looking at. This is the Agora, and they're still shopping today. In fact, there's one of our chief shoppers right there. Did you buy that?
No, no.
You
How do
didn't
you
buy
like that? Is that?
I think it's neat
No.
looking. Yeah.
That was a little too bare.
A little too bare
Yeah,
for
a little
you?
too bare for me, yeah.
Well, now there's some with sleeves on it there, but anyway, we did some nice shopping there. And in fact, I have to admit that Betty is a better bargainer than I am. I bought a tablecloth there, and then Betty bargained. I thought I bargained very well with the little lady, and I thought I did a great job. Then Betty came along a few minutes later, and she bargained. She got it for half the price that I paid for it. So I don't know.
Well, you never take the first.
No, I didn't. I cut it in half from what she
They
started
really,
with.
and you know, it might sound like we're really being awful to cheat the people.
No,
but if
no,
you
no,
didn't bargain with them, they would not have a happy day.
That's
it's fun
probably
for
true.
them, truly. It's a
Right.
game.
And you can see the Acropolis is up on top, just that's part of it. And we're down here in what is the Agora. Of course, we know this is where
shopping center.
Socrates was, you're right. And as you can see, this is still being excavated here, which is very, very nice to see that. And on the other show, we saw it from up above, looking down on it. But right next to it, and right in the middle of it, is the shopping area where we just were.
That was the Greek mall of the time. With all the little shops,
right.
you know, really.
Right. It is. Well, you know, we decided now it's time for us to get on a boat because we want to visit some of the islands of Greece. In fact, we did. We visited 3 islands. We visited Mykonos, Rhodes, and Patmos. But here we are. Betty, how do you pronounce this port city? Here, is it Parisas? I'm not quite sure how to.
Oh gosh, you took me unawares. I have to look at it and kind of figure out. It's area.
Is that what it is?
Okay. No, don't.
Anyway, it's the port.
Okay, look it up. Well, it should be easy. I'm sorry. I
have to admit, I was having difficulty
with
pronunciation on some of these Greek names.
It was all Greek to me too.
As well here, I'll tell you, and a little tongue-tied with the rest of it today. Anyway, this was the ship that we were on, the Renaissance. It was a nice ship, and it was a small ship, and it was lots of fun. I think that all of us really enjoyed our time on the ship. Well, some of them really enjoyed it.
Oh,
because
Ray,
we had
I swear to goodness,
right?
he did.
Look
at that. He did well. He just loved those slot machines.
There was a lot to see and a lot to do, and of course, I loved standing up on deck and looking at some of the other ships here. And everywhere you looked, I knew that Greece had a lot of islands, but I had no idea that there were so many and that they were so close together.
It looks so tranquil, doesn't it? Yeah. And they have every cruise you take, they have a little dancing session where they teach you how to. Of course, I like the line dancing myself. I think that's really fun.
This is kind of line
sort
Greek
of like
dancing
it,
here.
yeah. And it's fun, and it gives you something to do, and while you're on the ship.
And Tina's here, and she's trying to learn the Greek dances, as you can see here.
Yeah, she's good.
Yeah. She came in a little bit late, but so she's trying to do a little catch up right here. So, but okay, what leg first? Right or left? I'm not quite sure just which one.
Now Beverly didn't want to indulge.
She wanted to watch.
No, I'll just watch. Thank you.
Well, here they're getting a little bit faster now. The music picked up its tempo just a little bit, so they were really having a lot of fun.
Well,
I thought that you'd be there.
I don't know where I was. I must have been someplace.
You were out there looking at the food.
Because I like to do that too. It's fun. I like that.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. Or if you don't want to do that, of course, you can just go out on the deck and relax.
I love that.
So
Give me
beautiful.
a good book and sit out there, and that's wonderful. Yes, and
it is.
Breathe.
Right.
Fresh air.
Clean air. So wonderful. Yeah. And it was. And so that's where everybody wound up a little bit later on in the afternoon, was out on the deck. And of course, we're heading toward the island of Mykonos, which is so pretty. But this was interesting to me.
There's Tina doing the gambling this time.
No, that's for a picture.
That's
pictures.
right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that clever? I forgot about that.
It's all done with the computer.
You just push your finger on it,
right.
and then your picture comes up. After it's taken, of course.
That's true, right? Yeah. So anyway, it was lots of fun. I'll tell you, I could go and do that again. It's paid off better, I think, than the slot machines did. Now we had some real Greek dancers that were here on the ship, and they were entertaining everyone. And this was really lots of fun to watch.
Oh, look at that man! Poor thing.
Yeah. You just watch him now.
He was portraying somebody, I don't know just exactly. It must be a real ceremonial type dance right now that he's doing. Oh my gosh, the whirling dervish. Do you remember when we saw the whirling dervishes?
In Turkey? Right.
Yes.
Well, you see, you got everybody involved, and they were trying to get everyone that was around the tables. And I see Tina and John are there. They didn't waste any time. They got them up right away to do some of this dancing, and it was a lot of fun. And this was our only time that we got a chance to really see the Greek dancers.
And this was on the ship. Well, and all the time that you do a cruise of any kind, they do have entertainment. So. It just passes the time and keeps you amused.
Oh, it's wonderful. Well, as we say, no matter what sort of a cruise you do, there's always something to do, or if you prefer to do nothing at all and just sit,
Amen.
you can do that as well. So that's great. And we can see now as we're getting closer to some of these islands, I love the little white buildings that we see.
Oh, I'm sorry. The first island was Mykonos?
That's where we're headed
because I know it was sort of almost dusk when we arrived.
And we had to anchor out because you can't get, I don't think that harbor was big enough to get the boat in all the way. So what they did is they sent what they call tenders out. And you can see here the folks are getting ready to lower the gangplank and to meet the tender as it comes up to meet the ship. And then what we all do is we wait in one of the lounges or wherever, and when your number is called, then you can get in.
I was last.
You were last?
Yeah. When did you get on? First?
No, I didn't get on first, but I know.
Oh,
who's on
what
first?
is that?
That's the moon.
No, you just put a big piece of paper up there. A paper
Not
moon.
Quite. A paper moon.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Isn't it beautiful?
Yes.
It really is. It really is. I thought this just set off Mykonos so beautifully, and especially this is the first island, of course, that we're going to visit.
You should be able to sell that. Do you know that
Would you like
is
to buy it?
that is so romantic. You know, for honeymooners come and then maybe they would buy that and they would get to see that beautiful moon and
Could
well,
be.
let's go
Good
into the
idea.
business.
Yeah,
I'll see if
okay.
I can promote that.
Okay,
for
you promote that. In the meantime,
Would you share the profit with me?
Sure will.
Okay,
you
thank
bet.
you.
As long as I can go back to Greece.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's the tender has finally arrived, and here's the Greek captain of the tender down there, and he's giving these guys a little orders. Okay, you make sure that you get this thing just right.
They're very careful.
Don't destroy my boat. Anyway, as we can see, I guess I was probably one of the last ones too, Betty, because by the time that I got into Mykonos here, the sun had set, and of course the moon was out. This was interesting. That's where they cleaned the fish. The fishermen cleaned the fish. They had running water right there, and as they brought the boats in and the fish, they could clean the fish right there. It's
I
just
was a little
gorgeous.
disappointed but you know, you can't control always. You can't control the waterways. There's things you just have to go along with. But I would have liked it if we'd have been there a little earlier.
It would have been nicer, right?
I had been when I was there before. We were there in the morning.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So you had most of the day to spend on the island?
We were there probably 3 hours. But
well, I think they have to arrange this one way or another so
Yeah.
that because we were not the only ship that came
hardly.
into Mykonos too, and we had time to stop and have some refreshments. But of course, shopping was the big thing. Of course, that was on everyone's mind. Maybe we sell this picture too.
yeah, that is nice. Yeah, that is nice. Oh, I like that one better.
That you like that one better?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Well,
I
you
like
see, there's a
that
little
one.
chapel here on the
I
side.
tell you, we'll just make an album, one of those things that you buy that they fold down, and we'll stand there the next time we
Stand
go
and
to
sell for
Greece
$1?
and sell them for $1. Right.
Okay,
I don't
that
think we're
sounds
gonna
like
get
a winner.
rich.
As we say, we were not the only ship that was there in port, but we have now left and we have gone on to the next island. So this is the next day. We are now looking at the island of Rhodes. And Betty, this is a big island. I was surprised. Now, you've been to Rhodes before?
Yes, sir.
You were at Rhodes before?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you know the road to Rhodes.
I know. Oh, that's cute. I like that. Can I borrow that?
You can borrow that,
That's
right?
pretty good.
Anyway, we
Yeah.
see it from a distance here as we're approaching Rhodes. But Rhodes has such an amazing history of some of the towns and the city that's there. And also, Betty, I was surprised in listening to our guide and then reading a little bit more about Rhodes, about how many different periods there were. I mean, the civilization was there, oh my goodness sakes, way back, 3,000 years or so, maybe even more than that.
I found the roads, even though in my estimation when I first went, I didn't see near what we saw this time. It seems like that's the way it is. Like I got to see more of Mykonos, but I didn't see as much of Rhodes. And Rhodes to me wasn't very fascinating. I wasn't, oh well, it's okay, we'll go. I just was thrilled with it this time. Yes, I think it's a wonderful island to visit.
It really was. And in the medieval is that right? Medieval times, right?
Medieval.
Middle
half between good and bad. Medieval.
Whenever it was. Anyway, but Rhodes was a part of the Byzantine Empire, and it was raided several times by the Persians and also by the Arabs. And it had quite a history. It was also, of course, notable during the time of the Crusades as well. And of course, during the Holy Wars, during the 11th century, there was quite a bit of activity that was here on the
You
island.
know, it's amazing how much traveling was done in those days. One would conquer and be in charge for a while, then somebody else comes and conquers, and then they'll come back and reconquer again. Continual fighting, continual.
Well, and you think too, where this is located. I mean, there was so much commerce going around the Mediterranean at that time from all the various countries and the various civilizations, of course, that came and went during that time too. So
I think Rhodes had a good harbor there. Is Lindos right there?
No, Lindos is
farther
we're
on?
going to hit a little bit later on. That's on the other part of the other part of the island. But you're right when you're talking about the harbor here, because this harbor was deep enough so that our ship could actually come in and we could park the boat, as they say,
Isn't
right?
that something?
Yeah, and there were some other ships, as you can see here, that were also that were moored right here in the harbor. Several ships, as a matter of fact. You know, the other thing too, and I'm not quite sure, one of these may have been or not, what do you call it? The ferry boats.
Yeah.
I mean, they're big ones. They're
Yeah.
big ones because
Yeah.
a lot of times you'll spend, overnight going from island to island, and a lot of people do that.
My daughter did that. When they went to Greece, they were just with backpacks, and they took a ferry to go. And I don't know which island, but that one of them was Mykonos. But they got a berth, and so they didn't have to pay for a hotel.
Oh, that's
you
great.
See, they were smart.
This is
yes.
kind of a picture of where the Colossus of Rhodes stood, and of course it was much bigger than what we were showing there. But on either side, there's also there were two. There's a deer on one side, and what was on the other that was made there. There was an earthquake anyway.
Oh, the earthquake
came along and destroyed the Colossus, right?
Yeah, but but that was way back in 227 BC. But it's amazing. We think, that we have a pretty good system now of social welfare right here in our country.
Yeah.
But they had a social welfare system that far back.
Is that right?
Yes, they did. And this was this charity. They one took after the other, took care. And the monarchs of this Hellenistic period in the kingdoms, they would collect the money, and then they would send it around to rebuild the cities that had been destroyed. So it was really good. I think that they kind of looked out for their fellow man, and that's pretty good for my way of thinking.
I think it's very good. We are going to go now inside the fortification. One of the periods that is talked about is called the periods of the knights. Now, the order of the knights was sort of a quasi-religious and quasi-military order. They were Catholics and acted as a bulwark for Christianity against the Muslims, especially the Turks. Since they were Catholics, they sort of suppressed the Greek Orthodox Church, and conflicts did, arise around various doctrinal differences. But still, they saved Rhodes from the Turks, who had conquered Constantinople in the year 1453. And Rhodes became the capital of a small state, of which the neighboring islands formed part of that state. And the knights came from different countries, from France, from Italy, from Germany, Spain, and all those places there too. And the thing is, the language was Latin and French. It wasn't Greek. Isn't that interesting?
Very. I am overwhelmed.
Well, and this is what you're going to see is what's
Yes.
left of the fortifications. In fact, I think now that was turned into a hospital, But eventually, the knights did leave Rhodes, and they went over to Malta, and became the Knights of Malta.
We had the Knights of Malta. In fact, it was on one of our television programs. We had the Isle of Malta on a little program about Malta.
Right. Well, anyway, this was part of the area where the knights were, and of course, you can still see some of the emblems that were there. And you think how long these buildings have stood.
I remember that so well now, because that was many things. The guide, it became this and that and something else, and then they put it to really good use by making a hospital out of it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought you said something. No, because you were kind of rambling. But anyway, it brought it to mind when I saw the pictures there, you know, of the insignias and stuff on it, because that was pointed out to us. These were that shows you that the knights were there.
Right. Yeah. Well, as we say, that went through a lot of periods. There was the periods of the knights, and there was a Turkish period. Then there also was the Italian period, because the Italians took over Rhodes in 1912, and they had the island until 1943. And you know, Rhodes was occupied by the Germans during the Second World War, and finally it joined the rest of Greece in 1947 at the end of the war.
We have a lot to be thankful for the Italians. Actually, they did paid for a lot of the rest and work of the restoration.
Right, that's very true. Well, we're going to head now down toward Lindos, and we stop along the way. And we stopped at this, I guess you call this a factory, because the people are making more than one of everything here. And this was really interesting to see the designs that they were putting on here. And all this was hand-painted. They were beautiful, beautiful works.
I found out more about this after I came home. I should have bought a plate. Well, you should have too. This has been going on for centuries, this type of plate. And they do send them out all over the world. They're very, very famous. It's because of the design, of course, and the handwork that they do on it. But they're very unique. And I looked at them. Some of our people bought some.
You're sorry now you didn't buy one?
Yeah, I am, only because of the history of them, but I don't care for them too much. But I could have bought one and hung it up.
Well, here we are, Betty. We have finally arrived in the southeast corner of the island of Rhodes in the village of Lindos. And this is spectacular, especially if you walk up to where the walls are up here. But a lot of people, in fact, you couldn't even get into the town with a bus. The roads are too narrow, right?
We stopped our bus up at the top, and there was a little store there and everything, but walking down is nothing, but coming back up again, forget you. So, and they had for people that were really pooped, they had a
taxi service, right?
Taxis, and I think like for $2, and you get 4 people in a bus, and you
well, I was going to go climb through the village and climb up to that fortification up there, because of course there was another Acropolis up there.
But look at how cute that. See how that's the whole village. Little narrow streets, little cobblestones, little stairways.
You're not going to get too many cars or buses up through there, that's for sure.
No.
But this was very interesting, because even though it was a little bit of a climb, there were people selling stuff, you know.
Yeah. Oh, they had the beautiful things.
Oh,
just
they
really
were.
Beautiful
They were
things.
absolutely incredible.
A lot of embroidery work.
Yes, very much so. And as we got further up the hill, there were some of the ladies that were sitting up there, and I thought, oh my golly, these women have to haul this stuff up here, you know, themselves every day to get up.
But you know, Marv, some of those were homes in back of there. Their homes go way in the back, and they have like an entrance, and then they have a little patio in their homes, which I've always thought they should do that in the San Joaquin Valley.
Because of the heat?
Yeah. It just sounded, have your garden inside.
Well, here you can see these women, you know, have their the embroidery work there. And this is quite a ways up now. We're not even to the top yet, but it was a good hike, I will say that. But it was worth it, because the things that we could see from up here, again, this viewpoint is absolutely just incredible. And St. Paul landed here, didn't he, Betty? In fact, they named the harbor after him.
There was a little church right down in the... like where the little cove place is there, of the Church of the Apostles, and well, actually they call it the Church of, I guess they call it the Church of Apostles, but that was in honor of St. Paul. I don't think it was built when he was there, but maybe so.
I'm sure probably many years after.
You know, yeah. But they must have had the rocks, the pile of rocks had to be there to be reconstructed.
Because once you get up on top, and you haven't been up there, but you will see when you get up here on top that they are doing more excavation work up on top, and it is really incredible to see what they're doing. And I kept wondering, how in the world did they get the cranes up here? How did they get all the
flew up there.
Material? No, I think that they probably did. No.
The cranes are a bird, you know. A crane is a bird.
Okay, gotcha.
So the cranes got up there by flying.
No, I think these cranes, though, came up by helicopter.
Okay. So it's the same thing then, isn't it?
I guess
they flew too, yeah.
Anyway, again, this was another Acropolis, and this was I think they called this for the cult of Athena Lindos. So, and it had some other significance. I just wanted to mention that picture that we just saw a little bit ago that was carved in. It was like a Phoenician ship that was carved into the wall, if I remember what the guide had said correctly. Actually carved into the rock, and which is part of the foundation of this fortress that we can see here.
I get like blah, 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 like you sometimes. If you
want to say so much.
I want to say, yeah, because when you think of the construction, I mean, this is like we clambered, whatever we do up the hill, and think of, they had all of this, they'd transport all of that stuff up there. Ah, yay.
And this again, Betty, is that ship again that I was telling you about that had been
Oh,
carved
yes.
in centuries and
Yes,
centuries and
yes,
centuries
yes.
ago. And I think it was really kind of to honor all the seafaring folks, you know. And it was really quite nice.
Now
But we had to climb more stairs.
Excuse me. They had a church here in Lindos that was dedicated to Athena.
Well, it was a temple.
A temple.
Yeah.
Well, I say church, yeah, I mean a
It would have been
temple.
a temple, right.
And then it has been now converted, and they sort of make an analogy that because the church of today is dedicated to the Mother of God, and Athena at her time of existence and in the way they believed,
She was a goddess.
was the goddess of, yes. So it's stayed with a woman.
It stayed with the woman.
Uh-huh.
You're absolutely right. Now you can see, Betty, what the construction work up here. Now look at some of these columns. I mean, they've found the original columns, and they've put them back up again. But some of these are, you know, have come apart, and so they have. If you look very carefully, you can see that they have metal wrappings around them to keep them there. But it's interesting to see. And I believe it was the Danish who were the first in here who were doing the excavation work. As we can see, they've done a beautiful job, and I'm sure that the Greek government is probably doing that now.
Must be incredibly expensive.
I would think so. I would think so. And the thing is, when this is going to be done, if we ever go back, you know, in a few years to see this, it will be just so spectacular.
Well, I kind of like it. You know, I think it's so informative if when you get to see it in its baddest in its earliest stage, and then the transformation that takes place. Yeah, you appreciate it.
Well, Betty, you have a lot of other trips coming up, so if people are interested in getting in touch with you and finding out about other trips, all they have to do is give you a phone call at
488-7443.
Right,
They
and
tell
your
me I
area
talk too
code is
fast.
559.
Mm-hmm.
So just give Betty a call on that. Hey, it's time for us to go. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.